Okay, the first thing we're going to do is I have some cheap watercolor paper that I got at one point at the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to stamp this rose from Just Right using some archival ink. Okay, and I'm going to take my heat tool and now I'm going to make sure this ink is really dry. Okay, now I'm going to remove the protective sheet from my ScanNCut cutting mat, and I'm going to put this about in the middle. And since ScanNCut mats tend to lose their stick pretty quickly, I'm going to secure this down with some micropore tape. Okay, now I will place it into my ScanNCut. And I will load it. Okay, and we're going to scan and do a direct cut. I'm going to send it to Canvas and then I'm going to start. Okay, next I'm going to go to my CanvasWorkspace program on my PC. I am not going to unload my mat, and we'll take it from there. Okay, now I'm going to come over here to image tracing and image scanned by the machine. And I'm just going to bring this over so that it's close. Because it's such a jagged image, it's not doing a very good tracing of it, so I'm just going to click OK. And I will expand this, and you can see that it did not do a very good job of tracing. So I'm just going to take this shape and delete it, so that all I've got is my image. Now I'm going to come over here to Path, and I'm just going to carefully go around and manually put my cut line around it. Whoops. And if you accidentally click too close to that path, it thinks that you've closed it. So you need to be careful that you don't accidentally click too close to the last point, or you have to pretty much start over. And at this point, I pretty much accidentally clicked and ended my path. And so instead of doing it all over again, I'm going to zoom in to just that area. So when I continue my path, I do it right on the very end of the last path until I can close it, and double click on that last one to close it. And so I've actually got two cut files here, and I want to group them together to make sure I don't accidentally move it. Any parts here you're not satisfied with, just keep clicking that cut line until you get into edit mode. And you can move these points around. You can add a point if you want, so that we can better refine this line going around here. And so that's how you would edit that. Now I'm going to want to cut out some spaces in here. So I'm going to come back to my path tool, and I'm going to just make some paths. Maybe a small one in here. And maybe a small one here. Maybe a small one here. now I'm going to come to my layers view, and I'm going to take all these shapes that I've manually drawn and I'm going to group them. Okay, so now we have our cutting file, and remember we haven't moved our piece on the ScanNCut, so we're going to come File, Transfer FCM File via the Internet, and I'll click OK, and then now we will go to the ScanNCut. Okay, now we are back to our ScanNCut. And so recall the scanned image, transfer the cutting file to the machine. And there we have it. And so we'll click OK. I want to cut. And I'll press Start. Okay, and so now it's cutting, and I've sped it at 8 times speed, and it's not going to get a good cut. Okay, and at this point I realized my half cut was still on, and I'll discover that I did not get a good cut, but luckily I didn't remove the paper from its spot. So I'm going to reload my mat, and I realize the position is not going to be exactly the same as it was originally, but we're going to try and recut it anyway. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to turn off the half cut this time, and then I'll recut it. And now I'll carefully remove the cut rows from the cutting mat, and here you can see the final result. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye.